John Lusk here of Lusk Archery Adventures. Serious testing, successful hunting. Today I'm going to be testing a traditional head, and unfortunately I'm going to be testing it using my compound bow. Okay, so it's kind of moot in some ways, but I'm testing the Steelforce 300 grain single bevel head. Okay, thanks to a viewer who donated this head, I'm going to be putting it to the test, and I'm using my Bowtech SR6 set at 72 pounds, and I'm using Bishop FOC King Arrows for most of the shooting, but then also Bishop FAD Eliminators for the really hard impact tests. So let's zoom on in here, go through some of the design features and specifications, and then put this head to the test. Here's the head close up, and man, I had to zoom out the camera just to be able to fit it onto my screen. This thing is a whopper. It's only got a 1-inch cut in diameter, but it's 3 inches long to give that 3-to-1 ratio that some people say is ideal for penetration. I don't really tend to buy into that, but it's interesting to see that nonetheless. The head is made out of 420 stainless steel, and the blades are 0.080 inches thick. So really thick, really stout head. You notice that it's got this really gradual bevel on both sides. I'm not sure of the angle, but it looks really gradual. I couldn't find it listed anywhere. And the tip has this kind of tanto type tip to it that is really sharp, but also really stout and looks like it's going to be fairly durable. So I'm eager to put this head to the test and see how it performs. I'm going to be putting it through all the tests that I used for 2021, and if you're interested in finding out more details about those or getting more explanation about them, please read about them in the description box below this video. $175. It penetrated 6.5 inches. $225. It penetrated through 51 layers. Now I want to remind you that for both of the penetration tests, this head is 300 grains, and the majority of the heads that I test are 100 grains or 125, sometimes 200 grains. So you would expect these to penetrate quite a bit more deeply than those other lighter heads. It rotated 15 degrees at 10 inches of penetration. And I want to note that I used a bare shaft for this because I didn't want my right helical veins to interfere with the left beveling of this broadhead. Here's the Steelforce 300 grain after 5 shots through the steel plate. And you can see it held up very well. There's a little bit of edge chatter on each of the sides, kind of in the back on this one, in the front on this one. The tip has a little bit of a bend to it at the end, a little bit of a blunting. Spins perfectly well. Here's a good look at the static view of the wound channel created by this head. And as you can see, they're pretty short holes, okay? They're only 1 inch in cutting diameter, yet because of the thickness of the blades and that single bevel rotation, you're really getting a nice hole. It's not just a 2-blade slit. So here's the head after sticking in the concrete, and it held together very well. There's a little bit of edge chatter right here on this side. The tip held together fine. The only damage you really see beyond that edge chatter is there's a bit of a wobble to it, and I'm not sure where that wobble comes from. Either the whole head bent, and you can see it kind of slightly bending upward there at the tip, are bending downward there if I rotate it that way. It may be in the ferrule. You know, the ferrule is steel on this 300 grain, whereas the lighter models of this head, it's aluminum. So it is steel, but there is a bit of a wobble that occurred from that impact. So what do you think of the Steelforce 300 grain? I can see why traditional hunters would really like this. It's a solid choice when it comes to a single bevel, really beefy, durable head, especially that doesn't break the bank to get that done. So there's a lot of strengths to it. Check out the score sheet to see how it performed in each of the areas that matter to you the most. And I do want to note that when you're comparing the scores of this head to the other heads that I test, most of the heads I test are like 100 or 125 grains. But this one, being so much heavier, gets some extra momentum, right, for its impacts and its penetration. So keep that in mind as you're comparing the scores. But overall, I think this is a head worth checking out if you're looking for this style broadhead.